Alright guys, so Ute is done. Time to move back onto this because this desperately needs an intercooler, because now that we've wound the fuel up, as I'm sure you've probably seen, it gets pretty hot pretty quick. They already get friggin' hot in basically standard format. I'll run you guys through some of the observations I've detailed over the few months or so running this with virtually stock engine setup. So before I get into it, I'll show you guys what it's looking like now. I've done a few little updates, mainly in the rear end. So let's go have a look. So as you can see, I've actually just gotten back from my third little trip actually. We just came back from Hill End, did the whole bridle track. Even the part that is meant to be unpassable, I got through it, we did the whole thing, it was awesome. Camped by the Turon, car has been flawless. I've taken it out 3 times now. We're going back to Turon in a couple of weeks with Ben and Max, so I'm gonna film some footage for that, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, the main thing is in the back here. So as you can see, I've got this sick custom bar. I picked that up from a guy, but as always, there's something that needs to be done. Went to go fit it, and it was obviously on a car with a 2-inch body lift, so I had to kind of modify all these mounts up here, which you can't even see because they're too dark. But anyway, Benny and I, we modified them and got that all ready for the last trip I went on, which is all good. It's a sick bar, got the swing away here. I've got a double jerry holder, which I'm gonna fab up another swing away on this side. And yeah, spare wheel obviously here, but my spare wheel doesn't fit with the offset that it is and the width rubber, so I have to modify that like usual. And you can probably see I've got a fridge in here now. Nothing too crazy, so I whipped this together in a few days. I've got the cargo barrier up the back there, as you can see. I've taken my drawers that were originally side by sides, as I'm sure all of you guys have seen. Done a bit of custom work, halved them and stacked them on top of each other. Max tracks underneath. So yeah, this is all like recovery gear and tools, etc. Stanley toolkit. I'll do a proper rundown once this is set up, but yeah, like cooking stuff. Got a 2-burner stove strapped up here. So this is a fridge from Audi actually. It was like 450 bucks, so I'm like, fuck it, I'll give it a go. It's been really good, it's really good on power. Got the little chopping board as well, I'm sure all you guys have seen that. And then in the back, got the auxiliary battery. That's run from a isolator in the engine bay. That's been really great. This thing, put it this way, I use overnight. It goes from say 12.8 volts down to 12.5, so it doesn't use much at all. And that's with it set to 1 degree. Yeah, I'm still yet to mount the compressor and a few other things, but this is set up good enough now to go camping with, essentially. So yeah, that's that. I'll cover that more once I'm actually kind of finished with this setup. I'm still kind of tweaking it as I can find time, but the main thing is intercooler time. So you've probably seen me talking about this, and to be honest, I've been lagging behind quite a bit. So I've got this intercooler, really good quality stuff. So this is rated for like 600 horsepower or something. So it's 3-inch in and out, and this is a water to air core. So air goes through this way, water goes through this way essentially. So this is the radiator for it. This goes at the front of the vehicle, has hoses that come in and out, and then obviously in and out on the cooler core. And then it's just driven by a little pump here. This is a nice quality pump that these guys supplied as well. So yeah, I think today the plan is to get everything mounted up, or at least I think the hardest thing is going to be this. I do have a couple of changes I want to make, mainly bringing the snorkel out this side. Okay, so here's the standard setup. You can see my little isolator up here for the battery, just the cheap red arc one for now. Probably eventually go to a BCDC or something, but that's further down the track. So here's the factory airbox. It comes in from the snorkel, it goes across the engine. I hate that because it's just heating up the air and it looks messy. So my plan is, I was talking to Ben today actually, if we can move this down out of the way and kind of run it out and do a nice Stano 3-inch snorkel up here. You know the drill. Don't need 4-inch, it's too big. Doesn't need that much airflow. 3-inch is good, and I've got plenty of 3-inch Stano left, so that's that. This will probably come across, and then I'm hoping to put the core kind of leant back, you know, this way. So it'll be kind of, you know, out of the turbo, into the core, and then out of the core, into the throttle. I'll have to rotate that elbow around, but that's no biggie. And then this will ultimately be deleted. So I'm gonna start with that. I'll pull this airbox out, see what kind of space we got. The other thing is mounting up the cooler core. So I'd like to ultimately put it in here, but this fan is in the way, so maybe I can potentially move that somewhere, get a bit creative, because there is a good bit of space behind there, so we'll see. So I'll try and get as much footage as I can. Hopefully I can get the whole setup done. I need to get this done. I've got 2 weekends essentially, and any weeknights that I can spare. So bare minimum, at least I can have the air side done, so like the cooler core. So we'll see. Anyway, I'm gonna start ripping some shit out and start plotting out my parts and see how everything's gonna work, and order some missing parts. Not many, but there will be a few, mainly AN fittings for the water lines, and I'll have to probably make up a reservoir. Alright, so the airbox is out, as you can see. Intake's off, so we can get a bit of an idea of how things are going to run now. So essentially I'm kind of thinking I can mount this like so. So I've got a mounting point there, which I can make a bracket. So that will essentially sit there. Oh, just slipping off. So I do have to have enough space for my AN fitting and a 90°. So it'll probably have to sit somewhere like that with that kind of space. I can potentially mount, actually, secret's out, I'm putting water injection in this as well, so I can probably mount some of the water injection gear down in this spot, which will be handy as well. I guess I'll start on some brackets, get this mounted, start with what you know, and work your way from there. So on the intake side, I've been looking here, I'm kind of thinking I'll move this vacuum reservoir down here, and then I kind of want to come out of the guard up here, so there's not so much length coming up here. So I'll kind of come out of the guard with some 3-inch Stano, run it and hug it, and kind of, you know, the backwards facing thing as everyone does these days. So I can finally make a snorkel. And then yeah, pretty much it'll probably snake through here and then 90°. It's fine, like it's big enough to flow fine. So I've actually ordered a Kane Orion enclosed intake filter. I've got the dimensions here. It's a really cool unit. You'll see when it rocks up in a couple of days. So it'll probably have to, I don't know, I'm gonna have to play around with this a little bit. The fuse box looks like it's easy enough to move a bit lower because everything kind of comes up this way anyway. I don't think anything goes through the guard. Yeah, the hardest thing is gonna be mounting up this radiator core. Mainly because of this fan, so we shall see. Alright, so like usual, plans have changed over the last week. I'm still waiting for some parts, so you know, a lot of deliberating up here, but you can see I've got a thermo fan now, which is from a FGX Falcon. It's pretty slim, so Ben and I were talking, and basically we're hoping to push the radiator back, and obviously the AC condenser as well. We can probably see better here, and then get rid of the factory fan that's here, and hopefully fit my intercooler, which is over there, well, the radiator for the intercooler, in behind the guard, or behind the grill, sorry. But it doesn't look like it's gonna work. I'll have to investigate it more. The main thing is to get all the air plumbing done, and if I'm lucky, I'll get all the water plumbing done. So you guys will see it all in this video, but whether I have that done for the next trip or not, I don't know. Also, this turbo is just absolute shit. It barely spins. So I do need to get a nice ball bearing billet turbo, because those CT20s are known to fucking explode. And it's only a matter of time, I feel. I've got the cooler mounted up. I've kind of got an idea how I'm going to route it. So Ben gave us this 3-inch cast elbow, which will work pretty well actually. Probably something like this, except facing towards the Venturi. So I'm going to pull all this off, make up a new flange probably, or I might try and reuse that. I might mill it down, do whatever I need to do with it, and put a elbow facing this way, get rid of all this valve shit, get rid of the valve as well, so we've got all that good airflow at part throttle. That's pretty much good to go. I've got a 3-inch to 2.5-inch reducer elbow to go on here, so I'll kind of angle that around and then come to pick up towards the turbo there. I've also picked up this is going to be my new Airbox essentially. It's a pretty neat little thing. I only just got onto these. I knew they had the Apollo filters, but this is a much better fit. So this is a Kane and Orion air filter, so it's a 4-inch in, and that filter literally just pops out. There's 4 machine thread screws around there, and then there's a 3-inch out, and there's also a port, I think it's 1/4-inch NPT, to put a barb or anything for recirculation, etc. So that should hopefully fit somewhere in here. It's going to be a little bit of work, I think, but I should be able to just fit it. So Carl, what's your plan for today if you don't even have parts? Well, glad you asked. How shit is Australia Post these days, by the way? I'm sure all you guys in Australia can agree with me on that one. They used to be good. It takes like a week just to get anything regular where it should have been 2 days. Anyway, rant over. I'm kind of balls deep in a fucking bird's nest of wiring. So if you remember when I first bought this car, this was actually going to be one of the first jobs, but ended up being somewhat okay. But what my plan is essentially is I need to move the fuse box from where it was here down here hopefully, or worst case just flip it around so that I've got room for this new Kane and Orion air filter. So that's kind of gonna have to fit somewhere here. I'm going to bring the new snorkel in right at the back of the engine bay here. So I've got to get a 4-inch to 3-inch reducer. I do actually have a 90-degree one there, but I may need a 45 depending on how I can get everything to sit. I kind of figured I may as well get the really hard and annoying shit out of the way today while I'm waiting for parts, because it's easy enough to kind of fabricate some pipes. But fucking around with this is very time consuming, which is actually pretty good because I found a few so far little gremlins that would potentially ruin a good trip out in the middle of nowhere. So check this out. Okay, so as you can see, I'm kind of disconnecting everything, and then this is the main feed to the fuse box. So I see all this tape, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Look at this. They've just joined this fucking wire on here. Half the strands aren't even connected. Same with this crimp terminal. Absolute abortion. So I'm going to definitely have to fix that, among other things. So my plan, I'm just trying to clear some shit out of the way. And this main wiring harness that goes into the fuse box, I'm hoping I can kind of bring it around this way, around the battery, and hopefully sit the fuse box right down low in there. That's the plan. So if I can get that cleaned up today, cleaned up, battery back in, all that kind of stuff, I might even, it's risky without having the parts here, but I might even get started on the snorkel, get all that done, and then I've literally got next weekend, both days. Hopefully there's nothing that comes up that fucks me. Otherwise I'm kind of screwed. This could be really painful, or it could just all kind of fall into place and come together relatively easily, but I'm kind of thinking the earlier and it will be a shit fight. So I'm not going to bore you with this shit. I'll come back when I've got something more exciting or some good progress. So I'll catch you in a bit. Alright, a bit of progress. Fuse box has been relocated, I'll show you in a sec. Everything's been kind of tidied up, although it does look pretty fucking messy. Yeah, so this is kind of how the airbox is going to sit now, which is good. It was 90 out of here, and I've got a 2.5 to 2.25 reducer elbow, which will go into the turbo. Hopefully there's enough room for it to fit. So yeah, I'll take this out. So hopefully you can see some of the things I've done. So fuse box mounted down here now, obviously. I'll put some photos on the screen because I've covered it all up now, but there's a little bracket down there which also doubles as a mount for these solenoids here. I've still got to mount this vacuum reservoir, but I'll wait till the intake piping's done before I do that. There you can see it all kind of works. Yeah, it's all pretty straightforward, as you can see. It took a good few hours, but it's cleared up a lot of space here, as you can probably remember what it looked like before. So now it is time to butcher some body panels. So it's kind of hard to see, so that bracket's kind of in the way. I also don't know whether I'll be able to get my drill in there with the hole saw to drill back that way. I really don't want to take the guard off, so I'm going to drill pretty much straight through here. It'll be a nice just over 3-inch hole, I think. And that can basically be, actually it might even be like a teardrop shape to try and get that radius right down and have it basically hugging this body panel. So we'll get to that soon. Time to do some carefully calculated holes. I'm pretty happy with all this setup. It is blue, but I can't really bother buying another one. I've already got that. So yeah, I'm gonna get cracking on that. Fingers crossed I don't fuck it up. So we hit a bit of a problemo. I probably should have checked this, but it's kind of hard without pulling everything apart. But now I'm going to have to pull everything apart because I've hit this. That's kind of like a structural rail for the car. So what I've decided to do is I might modify this a little bit. I'll chop a bit out and then kind of plate it, and then we'll get a bit of 3-inch runs down here and then out this section where it's not reinforced. Alright, another change of plans. Back to my original plan, pretty much. So you can see here, I'll put a photo on the screen with the guard off. I'm about to head off the servo, so I'm not going to bother fucking around with this, but I've basically moved everything over, so I'm missing some of the structural members, and I've basically cut that section out. It's still pretty decently supported, and then I've put a hole through it. So the plan is the snorkel will be one piece down through here, and it will be one piece until it meets this silicon coupler. So to take the snorkel out, it's literally undo this, and then there'll be, I guess, a mount up here potentially, maybe even one here. Obviously I've fucked up here because I can't go through that. Well, I don't want to go through that anyway. So maybe I'll do like some kind of bulkhead mount that'll fix into there. That might look kind of cool, I don't know. So yeah, that's where we're at. The reason why I didn't do the thing across here and run it through the inside, like I said before, is because I'm kind of limited by the width in here. So by the time the filter goes in, there's not enough room to kind of reduce down to the 2.25-inch turbo inlet. So that's where we're at. Alright, well here's the beginnings of the snorkel. So I've got my bit going through the guard. This bit's going to go on here. All recycled stainless tube from other builds. I think this is part of Toby's exhaust, so that's probably the hardest bit. and now it's go time. So actually, before we cue the montage, what I'm going to do, I was having to think about it last night, is I'm going to basically make a stainless plate that will go around this and have some nutserts and some stainless cap screws in it. So it will actually be the bottom fixing point for the snorkel, so it'll stop it moving in and out. It'll hold this section in here that goes through the guard in place, and also it will cover up all this, because as you know, I kind of drilled it in the wrong spot the first time. Not that I was to know that there was a major structural member right there. Anyway, cue the montage. Snorkel is tacked up, and I must say I'm pretty impressed with myself. So this is what we got. We've got the blanking plate, which is also the bottom mount, which works out really well. Keeps this nice and rigid, except for the quarter panel that's moving at the moment, but that's that. Everything's tacked up. Very nice. It actually flows really well with the A-pillar. I'll probably put a couple of Stano things in there to stop anything going in. So that's all done. All I got to do is I'll mount the guard properly, and then just got to figure out a mount up here somewhere. Weld these in, then obviously do some nice fusion welds all around here. So for those of you who don't know, fusion welds are ones without filler, with TIG. So you're literally just melting the two metals together, and it gives a really sexy look. Hopefully get a nice bead around this. It is some pretty thin Stano, but a bit of heat control, I should be okay. It would be nice to actually weld this while it's all bolted, but I'm going to probably put way too much heat into this paint, so I don't know, little by little I guess. That's kind of why I did heaps of tacks, so that it's not too inclined to move. It is thin though, so we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to go home for the night, have some dinner, and I'll be back in the morning to finish this off. Oh, one last thing. I'll have to tag it up too. I'm thinking either here or up here. I don't know, what do you guys reckon? I'm probably going to spray this like wrinkle black or something, or even just satin black, and I'll have this bit kind of silver, so I'll have a think about it. Check this out. Wow. It's almost a shame to paint this. This kind of looks shit in normal stainless, but this, look at these worlds. So she's just about done. I'm just going to mock up my BBG tag, weld that on. When I pull it off, I'll also weld some things in here to stop any ingress of tennis balls, etc. And I'll show you the little mount that I've done. As you can see in there, yet to find what I'm going to fix it off with, but it should work well, I think. Nice and stealthy. And yeah, then the snorkel's done. All I gotta do is pull the guard off, fix the, or strengthen and fix, yeah, strengthen where this goes through, fix a crack that's here, then the guard can go back on, this can go back on. Whether I paint it for now, I don't know. Then we can get on to the cooler piping. So, Saturday, about lunchtime, half of today and tomorrow, and that's it. So.